Hello friend, thanks for stopping by. With the longer sunny days of summer, I find myself wanting to return to an idea. A few years ago, I set out to depict a few of my favorite stories as itty-bitty paintings, ones that have stuck with me over the years that I want to keep close to my heart as a necklace. One of those stories is the Jane Austen classic, Pride and Prejudice. For this project, I'm using acid-free paper that I cut out with a cutting machine, gouache paint in warm and cool primary colors, black and white, some small fine paintbrushes, and a few different varnishes that I'll test out at the end. For some reason lately, I've had a lot of painter's block. It's the same thing as writer's block, but you can't seem to bring yourself to get your paints out. Part of it is, I think, the mess. I dread the idea of making one and having to clean it up afterwards. But the other part is just the effort I know that it will take, and what if it doesn't look good? This is always a fear in the back of our mind. What if it's a waste? What if it's not good? You may have had someone say that to you, or maybe it was an unkind laugh, or your own critic inside being cruel. None of those voices understand or appreciate art. If they did, they would know that there's a bigger picture, that creativity is a great master collager of things. Everything belongs and is useful. To be honest, what you spend time on may not look good, but it has done you good, and that is nothing to criticize. It's good for the play, good for the practice, and good for your creative soul if you let it go that deep. If you can manage to come to your work with love, expectancy without expectation, then the outcome will always serve a purpose, whether it fits the original vision or not. Once I got going, I remembered how tiny paintings are like little puzzles. You have to be careful and keep a balance between foundational forms and details. To balance the composition, I try to simplify the image as much as I can by breaking it up into parts. These parts are building blocks, and as time goes by, with the addition of detail, they come together. To start though, laying down the basic foundation seems to help me not get bogged down with the details too soon. Too many details on such a small surface can overwhelm the eye and make it very confusing to understand the image. Clarity is crucial, and for the sake of it, you have to be decisive about what you will keep and what you will let go of. I love this part of painting because it becomes design. Our choices help us make something expressive and unique to ourselves. If you are a person who tends to focus or jump to details too soon, one helpful tip that I've learned is to squint your eyes at your reference. This will help your brain see past the details and see the larger shapes and values that are at the core of the image. I think this idea of starting with details too soon is a little similar to Mr. Darcy and Elizabeth Bennet. Each began to gather little details, first impressions, and assumptions at the start of their story, and it clouded their judgment. It made them think that at the other's core was the muddled details of what they saw at the surface. I read once that the only enemy you have is the person whose story you don't know. I think this is a very humbling thought. When the characters begin to understand more of each other's stories and see the genuine qualities that the other possesses, they realize that their perceptions were not as accurate as they thought. Both Pride and Prejudice revolve around ourselves. They make it easy for us to be at the center of our own world. If we take a bite of humble pie, we can begin to understand others and ourselves more fully. I think a good book or story can help us do this as well. Good stories are true friends that help us see things in a new light and help prepare us to be and do better. I think this is why they stick with us. They resonate and stay with us somewhere deeper than facts or logic can go. The story of Pride and Prejudice is one of the most iconic love stories of all time. Jane Austen was a brilliant and witty writer, bringing characters to life that are just as alive today as they were when it was first published in 1813. The book is so well written, and I highly recommend it. Every sentence is so well crafted and says even more between the lines. Within the book, you will find smartly laid social satire, so much so that some question if the story is even a romance. There are also the classic cinematic adaptations, which I think do a great job of presenting the story and making it even more visually memorable. Do you have a strong opinion or a favorite about the book or adaptations? While there is much hot debate, I have to tell you that one year for Christmas, I asked for Pride and Prejudice on DVD, and I was a little surprised and confused when I saw Colin Firth on the cover. I really appreciate and like the 1995 version. It's so accurate and well done. It's very good. But Keira Knightley will forever be my Elizabeth Bennet, and the 2005 version reigns supreme to me. Can you believe there will be a new version soon? I'm a little cautious. I'm sure this is how the 90s Pride and Prejudice people felt in 2005, and now it's my turn in 2025. It's crazy how time flies, but Pride and Prejudice has managed to keep up and win spots in our hearts for centuries. I'm sure it will continue doing the same. To finish these necklaces, I glued them into small pendant trays. I wanted to make sure the paintings were protected, so I tried a few different varnishes. The first was Aleene's paper glaze. It was a little scary to put on because it starts off very cloudy, but after a few hours it dries thick and clear, almost like a resin. While super protective, to me it made the colors darker and more saturated and seemed to erase some of the painterly details and blur the image, making it look like a marker drawing more than a painting. It was also pretty high gloss from certain angles. Next, I tried a Sculpey satin glaze. I've used this on clay before and it worked well on paper too. I used a paintbrush to apply it, and you can see the brush strokes in the dried varnish. It was thinner than the paper glaze, but it also seemed to have high gloss. Lastly, I tried crystal clear Krylon spray varnish. This varnish is actually fine to spray on jewelry to help it not tarnish, so I sprayed the whole pendant. I did a few coats, and it has a light sheen, but isn't glossy. It definitely doesn't feel as heavily covered as the others, but the spray says it's non-yellowing and moisture resistant, and I think it preserves the painting's integrity the most. I'm so happy I overcame my fear, got out my paints, and made this tribute to Pride and Prejudice. I made a few other renditions of beloved stories, and I'm wondering if I should share them here as well. Please subscribe if you're interested to see more. May these painted necklaces remind you of the cherished characters and stories they depict, and help you on in the coming chapters of your own. Thanks so much for watching. Sincerely, Katie of Dandelion Doyle.